"Keep the sweet one," she said with a careless smile as she pointed her fork toward my younger daughter. Then she looked at my oldest granddaughter and added, "Send the older girl back. She doesn't belong here anyway." My 9-year-old daughter froze. The spoon slipped from her trembling fingers and clattered against the dinner plate. No one moved. No one spoke. The only sound was the ticking clock on the kitchen wall. And in that terrible silence, I realized something I had refused to admit for years. My mother had never truly accepted my oldest child. If you've ever wondered how one sentence can change an entire family forever, stay with me. This is a story about impossible choices, a father's promise, 2 extraordinary little girls, and the night I finally chose love over blood. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional and inspiring stories like this, make sure to support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of kindness, hope, and humanity. I never imagined my family would become strangers around a dinner table. 10 years earlier, my life looked completely different. My wife, Emily, laughed at everything, even burnt toast and rainy vacations. We had dreamed of filling our home with children, bedtime stories, and noisy weekends. Fate had other plans. Emily passed away only hours after giving birth to our younger daughter, Lily. That same day, I made another promise. Emily's first daughter, Ava, was not my biological child. She was 3 years old when Emily and I married. Her biological father had disappeared before she could even remember his face. The first time she called me Daddy, she hid behind Emily's legs because she was afraid I might say no. Instead, I knelt down, hugged her tightly, and whispered, "I'll always be your dad." When Emily died, that promise became the center of my life. I raised Ava and Lily together, never allowing either of them to believe they were anything less than sisters. Ava loved books, painted tiny watercolor birds, and asked questions that made adults stop and think. Lily was fearless, loud, and forever climbing trees despite scraped knees. They couldn't have been more different. But they adored each other. Every night Ava tucked Lily into bed, inventing magical adventures where dragons baked cookies and brave princesses rescued sleepy giants. Lily refused to fall asleep unless Ava finished every story. Watching them together convinced me that love had nothing to do with shared DNA. Unfortunately, not everyone agreed. My mother, Margaret, smiled politely whenever Ava entered the room, but her affection always stopped just short of genuine warmth. Birthdays made the difference obvious. Lily received expensive gifts wrapped in sparkling paper. Ava usually received sweaters that were 2 sizes too big or notebooks with generic covers. Whenever I tried to mention it, Mom laughed. "You're imagining things." I wanted to believe her. Maybe grief had made me overly protective. Maybe I was seeing problems that weren't really there. But children notice everything adults pretend they don't. One afternoon, while driving home from school, Ava quietly asked, "Daddy, did Grandma ever want me?" The question nearly made me slam on the brakes. "What do you mean?" She stared out the window. "She hugs Lily first every time." I swallowed hard. "Grandma loves you both." Ava smiled politely, but I recognized the smile. It was the same smile Emily used whenever she pretended everything was okay. Months passed. I worked long hours as an architect, often sketching building designs late into the night after the girls had fallen asleep. Life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. Then my mother suggested hosting a family dinner. "Everyone misses you," she insisted over the phone. "Bring the girls. It'll be good for all of us." Against my better judgment, I agreed. The house looked exactly as it had when I was a child. The same floral curtains. The same polished wooden table. The same smell of roasted chicken drifting from the kitchen. For a moment, I allowed myself to hope. Maybe things had changed. My brother Daniel arrived with his wife and teenage son. My aunt filled the room with loud stories, making everyone laugh. Lily chased the family dog through the backyard while Ava quietly helped my mother arrange plates on the table. "Such a helpful little girl," Aunt Carol said. My mother's smile faded for only a second. "You've always been so eager to please," she told Ava without looking at her. The words sounded like praise. But somehow they weren't. Dinner began peacefully. Everyone shared stories. Daniel joked about work. My nephew complained about school. Lily proudly announced she had scored the winning goal in her soccer match. Everyone applauded. Then Aunt Carol turned toward Ava. "And what about you, sweetheart?" Ava hesitated. "I entered the regional art competition." "That's wonderful." Aunt Carol beamed. Before Ava could continue, my mother interrupted. "Art competitions don't build real futures." The room became awkwardly quiet. I saw Ava lower her eyes. Trying to rescue the conversation, I asked, "What did you paint?" Her face brightened. "A family standing under one umbrella in the rain." "Did you win?" Daniel asked. Ava nodded shyly. "First place." Even Daniel clapped. I reached over and squeezed her shoulder. "I'm proud of you." She smiled, a real smile this time. For one brief moment, everything felt right. Then dessert arrived. My mother cut generous slices of homemade apple pie. She placed the largest piece in front of Lily. Another large slice went to my nephew. Everyone else received equal portions. Ava's plate remained empty. She didn't say a word. She simply folded her hands in her lap and waited. I stared at the empty plate, hoping my mother had simply forgotten. Instead, she looked directly at Ava and said, "You can have yours later if there's any left." That was the moment I stopped making excuses. Something was deeply wrong. And before the night was over, my mother would say the sentence that would shatter every remaining illusion, and force me to make a decision that would change our family forever. The drive home from my mother's house felt strangely quiet. Rain tapped softly against the windshield while the girls sat in the back seat. Lily had fallen asleep with her head resting against the window, but Ava remained awake, staring at the passing streetlights as though each one carried a question she was afraid to ask. "Daddy," she whispered. "Yes, sweetheart." "Did I do something wrong tonight?" My hands tightened around the steering wheel. "No." "Then why didn't Grandma want me to have pie?" The words struck harder than any accusation. Children rarely ask the questions adults prepare for. They ask the ones no one knows how to answer. I forced a smile through the rearview mirror. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. She nodded, but I could tell she didn't believe that was the whole truth. When we reached home, Lily was still asleep, so I carried her upstairs. Ava quietly followed behind us, holding her art portfolio against her chest. As I tucked Lily into bed, I noticed Ava standing in the doorway. "You don't have to pretend," she said softly. "Pretend what?" "That everything's okay." She disappeared into her room before I could answer. That night I barely slept. I replayed every family gathering from the last 7 years. Every birthday. Every Christmas. Every school recital. Every tiny moment I had dismissed because admitting the truth felt impossible. The pattern had always been there. I had simply refused to see it. The following Saturday, Ava's artwork was displayed at the regional community center. She wore a pale blue dress Emily had bought years earlier, carefully altered as she grew taller. Lily insisted on wearing matching blue ribbons in her hair. "You have to match your lucky sister," she declared proudly. Watching them laugh together made me believe, if only for a few minutes, that kindness could overcome anything. The exhibition hall buzzed with excited families. Paintings covered every wall. Landscapes. Portraits. Dreamlike scenes imagined by children. Then I found Ava's painting. A family stood beneath a single red umbrella during a heavy storm. The father held both daughters close while rain poured all around them. One little girl smiled brightly. The other looked uncertain, almost afraid she didn't belong. Yet the father's arm wrapped around both of them exactly the same. At the bottom corner, in careful handwriting, Ava had written, "Real families never leave anyone out." I couldn't stop staring. Emily would have cried. "I knew you'd find it." I turned. Mrs. Hernandez, Ava's art teacher, smiled warmly. She worked on the painting for nearly 2 months. It means a lot to her. The teacher hesitated. "She worries more than children should." My heart sank. "What do you mean?" Mrs. Hernandez lowered her voice. She often asks if people can stop loving a child after enough time passes. The room suddenly felt too small. Has she really asked that? Several times. I couldn't speak. The ceremony began moments later. When Ava's name was announced as the first-place winner, the audience erupted into applause. She walked nervously toward the stage. Instead of accepting the medal immediately, she searched the crowd until our eyes met. Only then did she smile. That smile wasn't for the judges. It wasn't for the audience. It was for me. She needed to know I was there. And I silently promised I always would be. As we celebrated afterward with ice cream, Lily hugged her sister so tightly that chocolate dripped onto both their shirts. "You'll always be my favorite artist," Lily laughed. "No," Ava giggled. "You have to say I'm your only artist." "Same thing." Their laughter echoed through the little ice cream shop. For a while, life felt wonderfully ordinary. Until my mother's phone call arrived 3 days later. "I want to apologize." The word surprised me. "I've been thinking about dinner." "So have I." I wasn't myself. Silence stretched between us. Finally she sighed. "Invite the girls next Sunday. I'll make Ava her favorite lasagna." I hesitated. "You know her favorite food?" "Of course I do." Something inside me wanted desperately to believe her. Perhaps she truly regretted everything. People could change. Couldn't they? Against my instincts, I agreed. Sunday afternoon arrived warm and bright. The girls picked flowers from our garden before we left. "Grandma likes daisies," Lily said. "And roses," Ava added. They carried the bouquet together. When my mother opened the door, Lily ran into her arms. Ava waited politely. Only after hugging Lily did my mother glance toward Ava. "Oh." She accepted the flowers without smiling. "They're lovely." No hug. No welcome. Just polite words. I noticed. So did Ava. Lunch began peacefully enough. My brother couldn't come because of work, leaving only me, the girls, and my mother. She chatted happily with Lily about school. Asked about soccer. Promised to attend her next game. Every answer from Ava received only a brief nod before the conversation returned to Lily. Halfway through the meal, Lily excused herself to wash her hands. The moment she left the room, my mother leaned toward me. "I've been thinking." I felt my stomach tighten. "About what?" "Your future." "My future?" "You deserve another chance." "I have one." She ignored the comment. "You're still young enough to remarry." I smiled faintly. "Maybe someday." She folded her napkin carefully. "But no decent woman wants unnecessary complications." I frowned. "What complications?" She looked directly toward the hallway where Ava had disappeared. "You know exactly what I mean." For a second I honestly thought I had misunderstood her. "Mom." She continued speaking as though discussing the weather. "If you ever hope to start over, you should focus on your real daughter." I stared at her. "My real daughter?" "Lily." "And Ava?" She shrugged. "She's someone else's responsibility." A cold wave of anger spread through my chest. "I adopted her." "You signed papers." "I became her father." "Biologically." "I don't care about biology." She sighed impatiently. "You should." Before I could respond, Lily skipped happily back into the dining room. The conversation ended. But something had changed forever. For the first time in my life, I looked at my own mother and realized I no longer recognized the woman sitting across the table. And deep inside, I feared that the worst was still waiting to happen.